Imagine waking up one morning, the house quiet, the clock ticking a little too loudly, and realizing that you haven't spoken to another soul in days. You're 70 years old, sitting in your favorite chair by the window, watching the world go by, but feeling like you're not a part of it anymore. The kids have their own lives, your spouse might be gone, and the friends you used to laugh with over coffee have slowly drifted away. You're not just alone, you're lonely. And here's the heartbreaking truth: this silent struggle is stealing the joy from millions of people over 70 every single day. Did you know that loneliness in older adults increases the risk of depression by 50% and can even shorten your life as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day? That's right, what feels like a quiet, personal sadness is actually a hidden health crisis, one that most people don't even realize they're facing until it's too late. I want you to think about this for a moment. When was the last time you felt truly connected, truly seen? Maybe it's been weeks, months, or even years since you've shared a hearty laugh with someone who really understands you. Maybe you've started to pull back, skipping social events because it feels like too much effort, or maybe you're worried you'll just feel out of place. I get it. I've seen it happen to so many people, and I've felt those echoes of loneliness in my own life, too. My name is Sarah, and I've spent years talking to older adults, listening to their stories, and digging into what really helps them find joy again as they age. I'm not a therapist or a doctor, but I'm someone who cares deeply about making sure you don't have to face this alone. Because here's the thing, loneliness doesn't have to be the end of your story. You can rediscover the joy of living, even at 70, 75, or 80. And today, I'm going to show you how. Let's start by getting real about what loneliness does to you. It's not just a feeling, it's a weight that presses down on your heart, your mind, and even your body. Studies show that loneliness can increase your risk of heart disease by 29%, stroke by 32%, and dementia by a staggering 50%. That's because when you're lonely, your body is under constant stress. Your blood pressure rises, your immune system weakens, and your sleep gets worse. You might find yourself lying awake at night, replaying old memories or worrying about the future. And during the day, you might feel too tired to do the things you used to love, like gardening, baking, or even just taking a walk around the block. It's a vicious cycle, and it's one that can make you feel like you're fading away, like the vibrant person you used to be is slipping through your fingers. I'll never forget the story of Dorothy, a 72-year-old woman from Colorado who reached out to me a few years ago. Dorothy had always been the life of the party. Her neighbors called her the Pie Lady, because she'd bake pies for every block party and holiday gathering. But after her husband passed away and her kids moved across the country, Dorothy found herself retreating. She stopped baking, stopped inviting people over, and eventually stopped leaving the house altogether. She told me, "Sarah, I felt like I was disappearing. I'd sit in my kitchen, staring at the walls, and wonder if anyone would even notice if I was gone." Dorothy's story broke my heart, but it also inspired me to dig deeper. Because what I learned is that loneliness isn't a life sentence, it's a challenge you can overcome with the right steps. Today, I'm going to share 6 simple, practical habits that can help you break free from loneliness and rediscover the joy of living. These aren't complicated strategies that require a lot of time or money. They're small, intentional actions you can start doing tomorrow morning, no matter where you live or how long you've been feeling this way. And I promise you, by the time we're done, you'll feel a spark of hope, a sense that the vibrant, connected person you used to be is still there, just waiting to come back to life. These habits have been backed by researchers, psychologists, and the real-life experiences of people like Dorothy, who went from feeling invisible to lighting up her community again. So stick with me, because this journey is about more than just filling your days, it's about filling your heart. Let's set the stage with a few hard truths. Loneliness isn't just an emotional struggle, it's a public health crisis. According to the National Institute on Aging, more than 1 in 3 adults over 65 in the United States report feeling lonely on a regular basis. That's millions of people, just like you, who are quietly grappling with this emptiness. And the numbers get even worse as you hit your 70s, nearly half of people over 70 say they feel isolated at least some of the time. But here's what's even more alarming: loneliness doesn't just affect your mood. It affects your entire life. It can make you twice as likely to develop anxiety or depression, and it can even increase your risk of early death by 26%. That's not something to brush off. It's a wake-up call, a reminder that you deserve to feel connected, to feel alive, no matter how old you are. I want you to picture what your life could look like a year from now if you take these steps. Imagine sitting at your kitchen table, a warm cup of tea in your hands, and hearing the doorbell ring. It's a neighbor, stopping by to say hello because you've become someone they love spending time with. Or maybe you're at a community center, laughing with new friends over a shared hobby, feeling that warmth in your chest that comes from being truly seen. That's not a far-off dream, it's a future you can build, starting with the habits we're going to explore together. But before we dive into those, let's talk about why loneliness hits so hard at this stage of life. As we get older, our social circles naturally shrink. Friends move away or pass on, family members get busy with their own lives, and sometimes our health makes it harder to get out and connect. Maybe you've lost a spouse, like Dorothy did, or maybe you've retired and missed the daily interactions you used to have at work. Those changes can leave a void, one that feels impossible to fill. But here's the good news: you have more power than you think to change this. Loneliness isn't your fault, but it is something you can take control of. The habits I'm going to share aren't about forcing yourself to be someone you're not, they're about rediscovering the parts of you that light up when you're around others, the parts that make you feel alive. And the best part? You don't have to do it all at once. We're going to take this one step at a time, starting with something so simple, you'll wonder why you didn't try it sooner. So let's begin this journey together, because you deserve to feel joy again, to feel connected, to feel like you matter. And I'm here to help you every step of the way. Now that we've faced the reality of loneliness and what it can do to your life, I want you to take a deep breath and let a little hope settle in. Because what we're about to do together is going to change the way you feel, day by day, step by step. The first habit I want to share with you is something so simple, yet so powerful, that it can start to shift your entire outlook in just a few minutes a day. It's called the morning gratitude moment. I know, it might sound a little too basic, but don't let its simplicity fool you. This small act can be the spark that reignites your sense of purpose and opens the door to connection. Let me explain how it works and why it's so important. Every morning, as soon as you wake up, I want you to take 5 minutes to sit quietly, maybe in your favorite chair by the window, or even at your kitchen table with a cup of coffee. Close your eyes if you'd like, and think of 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big things. Maybe you're grateful for the way the sunlight filters through your curtains, or the sound of birds outside, or the fact that you have a warm bed to sleep in. If you're struggling to think of something, you can even be grateful for the small victories, like the fact that you're here, ready to try something new today. The key is to really feel that gratitude, to let it sink into your heart. You might even say the words out loud: I'm grateful for the sunlight. I'm grateful for my morning coffee. I'm grateful for my memories of my husband. Take a moment to let those feelings wash over you. Why does this work? Let's break it down. When you're lonely, it's easy to get stuck in a loop of negative thoughts. You might find yourself thinking, nobody cares about me, or I don't have anything to look forward to. Those thoughts aren't just painful, they actually change the way your brain works. Researchers at the University of California found that loneliness can make your brain hyper-focused on negativity, which makes it harder to notice the good things in your life. But gratitude flips that script. When you intentionally focus on what you're thankful for, your brain starts to rewire itself. It releases feel-good chemicals like dopamine and serotonin, which lift your mood and make you more open to connection. In fact, studies show that practicing gratitude daily can reduce feelings of loneliness by up to 20% in just a few weeks. That's not a small change. That's the difference between feeling like you're fading away and feeling like you have a reason to get out of bed. I want to tell you about someone who tried this and saw it change her life. Her name is Helen, a 69-year-old from Minnesota who used to love gardening but stopped after a near fall in her flower bed scared her into staying indoors. Helen felt isolated, spending most of her days watching TV and missing the life she used to have. When I suggested the morning gratitude moment, she was skeptical. "What's there to be grateful for when I feel so alone?" she asked me. But she gave it a try. The first morning, she sat in her kitchen, closed her eyes, and thought about the roses she used to grow, the smell of fresh soil, and the memory of her late husband helping her in the garden. She told me later that she felt a warmth in her chest she hadn't felt in years. After a week of doing this every morning, Helen noticed something incredible. She started to feel a little more hopeful. She began looking forward to those quiet moments of gratitude, and that hope gave her the courage to take the next step toward connection. That brings me to the second habit I want to share with you: reaching out with a memory message. This is about reconnecting with someone from your past, even in the smallest way, to remind yourself that you're not as alone as you think. Here's how it works. Think of one person you haven't talked to in a while, maybe an old friend, a cousin, or even a neighbor you used to chat with. It doesn't have to be someone you were super close to, just someone who brings back a fond memory. Then, send them a short message. If you're comfortable with your phone, you can text them. If not, a handwritten note or a quick phone call works just as well. The message doesn't have to be long, just something simple like, "I was thinking about you the other day and remembered how we used to laugh about that time we got lost on our way to the fair. How are you doing?" That's it. The goal isn't to start a deep conversation right away. It's to plant a seed, to remind yourself that there are people out there who still care about you. Why is this so effective? Because loneliness often makes us feel like we're the only ones struggling, like nobody else would understand or want to hear from us. But the truth is, so many people are longing for connection, just like you are. A study from the AARP found that 70% of older adults say they'd love to hear from someone they haven't spoken to in a while. It makes them feel remembered, valued. And when you take that small step to reach out, you're not just brightening their day, you're brightening your own. That little act of courage can remind you that you're still part of a bigger story, that your life has touched others in ways you might have forgotten. Let me tell you about Frank, a 76-year-old from Arizona who used to love hiking with his wife before she passed away. After her death, Frank stopped going out, stopped talking to his old hiking buddies, and felt like his best days were behind him. When I suggested the memory message, Frank decided to text an old friend from his hiking group. He wrote, "Hey Jim, I was thinking about that time we got caught in the rain on the trail and had to hide under that big oak tree. Hope you're doing well." To Frank's surprise, Jim texted back within an hour, saying, "Frank, I've been thinking about you too. Let's grab coffee next week." That one message led to a coffee date, which led to Frank joining a local walking group, and now he's out there every week, feeling connected again. All it took was one small step. I want you to think about who you could reach out to. Maybe it's a friend you used to play cards with, or a neighbor who always had the best garden. Picture their face, remember a moment you shared, and imagine how it would feel to hear from them. That feeling, that little spark of connection, is what we're building toward. And it all starts with those two habits: the morning gratitude moment to lift your spirits, and the memory message to remind you that you're not alone. These small actions are like seeds you're planting in your life, and with a little care, they'll grow into something beautiful. Let's keep going, because there's more to explore on this journey to rediscovering your joy. Now that you've started your journey with the morning gratitude moment and the memory message, you're already taking the first steps toward breaking free from loneliness. You're beginning to shift your mindset and reach out in small, meaningful ways. But let's take this a bit further, because the next habit I want to share with you is about building new connections, connections that can grow into friendships and bring a sense of belonging back into your life. This third habit is called joining a shared interest group, and it's one of the most powerful ways to find joy through the things you love. Let's talk about what this means. A shared interest group is any small gathering of people who come together around something they enjoy, whether it's gardening, knitting, playing cards, or even just talking about books or old movies. The idea is to find a group that aligns with something you already love, or something you've always wanted to try. You might be thinking, Sarah, I'm not really a group person, and I don't even know where to find something like that. I hear you, and I know it can feel daunting to step into a new social setting, especially if you've been feeling isolated for a while. But let me reassure you, this isn't about being the most outgoing person in the room. It's about showing up as you are, with an interest you care about, and letting that shared passion create a bridge between you and others. Why does this work so well? Because when you connect with people over something you enjoy, conversation flows naturally. You don't have to worry about what to say or how to fit in. Your shared interest gives you a starting point. Researchers at the University of Michigan found that older adults who participate in social groups based on hobbies are 40% less likely to feel lonely, because these groups provide a sense of purpose and belonging. And here's the best part, you don't have to commit to anything big. Even attending one meeting a month can make a difference. The goal is to get you out of the house, interacting with others, and feeling that warmth of being part of a community. Let me tell you about Clara, an 81-year-old from Georgia who loved growing vegetables but felt too unsteady to keep up her garden after her 70s. Clara had become more and more isolated, spending her days alone in her small apartment. When I suggested joining a shared interest group, she was hesitant. I don't know anyone anymore, and I'm not sure I'd fit in, she told me. But Clara had always loved plants, so she decided to try a local gardening club that met once a month at the community center. The first meeting was nerve-wracking. She sat quietly in the back, listening as others talked about their roses and tomato plants. But then someone asked her about her favorite vegetable to grow, and Clara lit up talking about her eggplants. That one conversation led to an invitation to visit another member's garden, which led to regular meetups, and now Clara has a small circle of gardening friends who check in on her and share seeds. She told me, Sarah, I didn't realize how much I missed talking about something I love. It's like I found a piece of myself again. So how do you find a group like this? Start by thinking about what you enjoy. Do you love cooking, or maybe you used to play bridge with friends? Are you curious about photography, or do you enjoy history? Once you've got an idea, look for local opportunities. Your community center, library, or church might have groups or classes. Many of them are free or very low cost. If you're not sure where to start, you can even ask at the front desk of your local library. Librarians often know about events for older adults. And if getting out is hard, there are online groups too. Platforms like Meetup have virtual clubs for everything from book discussions to knitting circles. The key is to take that first step, even if it feels a little scary. You don't have to say much, just show up, listen, and let your interest guide you. I want to share one more story to show you how powerful this can be. John, a 72-year-old from Florida, used to love golfing but had to stop when his legs started feeling too heavy. He missed the camaraderie of the golf course, but he didn't know how to get that back. When I suggested a shared interest group, John found a local club for retirees who loved talking about sports. They didn't play, they just met at a coffee shop once a week to share stories and watch games on a big screen. John went to his first meeting, nervous but curious. He ended up talking for an hour with another man about their favorite golf memories, and that conversation turned into a weekly tradition. John told me, I didn't realize how much I needed that. It's not just about sports, it's about feeling like I belong somewhere again. I want you to picture yourself taking this step. Maybe you're at a knitting circle, your needles clicking as you chat with someone about a tricky stitch. Or maybe you're at a book club, sharing your thoughts on a novel you loved. You're not just passing the time, you're building connections, little by little, with people who share a piece of your world. That feeling of belonging, of being part of something, is what we're working toward. And it all builds on the gratitude and outreach you've already started. Let's keep moving forward, because the next habit is going to take this even deeper, helping you nurture the relationships that matter most. You're already making incredible progress on this journey to rediscover joy. You've started your mornings with gratitude, reached out with a memory message, and taken the brave step of joining a shared interest group. You're planting seeds of connection, and I'm so proud of you for that. Now, let's talk about the fourth habit, one that's going to help those seeds grow into something truly meaningful. This habit is called small acts of kindness, and it's about nurturing the relationships in your life, both old and new, with simple, heartfelt gestures that make others feel seen and cared for. Let's break this down. A small act of kindness is exactly what it sounds like, a little gesture that shows someone you're thinking of them. It could be as simple as baking a batch of cookies and leaving a few on your neighbor's doorstep with a note that says, "Just wanted to brighten your day." Or maybe it's calling a friend to say, "I saw a flower today that reminded me of you, I hope you're doing well." If you're a part of a group, like the shared interest group we talked about, it might be bringing a small gift to the next meeting, like a bookmark for a book club member or a packet of seeds for a gardening friend. The point isn't the size of the gesture, it's the intention behind it. You're saying, "I see you, I value you, and I'm glad you're in my life." Why does this matter so much? Because loneliness often makes us feel like we don't have anything to offer, like we're a burden rather than a blessing. But a small act of kindness turns that around. It reminds you that you have the power to make someone else's day better, and that act of giving creates a ripple effect. Psychologists call this the helper's high. When you do something kind for someone else, your brain releases endorphins that make you feel happier and more connected. In fact, a study from the University of British Columbia found that older adults who regularly perform acts of kindness report feeling 30% less lonely, because those gestures strengthen their relationships and give them a sense of purpose. Let me tell you about Ruth, a 67-year-old from Texas who wasn't much for socializing after she retired. Ruth loved reading and knitting, but she spent most of her days alone, feeling like she didn't have much to contribute anymore. When I suggested small acts of kindness, Ruth decided to knit a small scarf for a neighbor who had just lost her husband. She left it on the neighbor's porch with a note that said, "I'm here if you need to talk." That gesture led to a tearful thank you visit from her neighbor, which turned into weekly tea dates where they'd knit and chat together. Ruth told me, "Sarah, I didn't realize how much that scarf meant to her, or to me. It made me feel like I still matter." That's the power of kindness. It doesn't just lift the other person up, it lifts you up too. Here's how you can start. Think of one person in your life, maybe someone you reached out to with a memory message, or someone you met at your shared interest group. What's one small thing you could do to brighten their day? It doesn't have to be fancy or expensive. If you like baking, share a slice of your favorite pie. If you enjoy writing, send a little note saying, "I'm glad we met." If you're not sure what to do, even a phone call to check in can be enough. The key is to act with intention, to let that person know they're on your mind. And if you're feeling shy, start with someone you're already comfortable with, like a family member or an old friend. The more you practice, the easier it gets. I want to share another story to show you how this can ripple outward. Tom, a 74-year-old from California, had bad knees from years of construction work and had become more isolated as a result. After joining a local walking group, he decided to try a small act of kindness. He brought a thermos of hot coffee to share at the next group walk, saying, "I thought we could all use a warm-up." That simple gesture turned into a group tradition. Everyone started bringing something to share, and Tom became the heart of the group. He told me, "Sarah, I didn't think a thermos of coffee would matter that much, but it made me feel like I was part of something again." That's what kindness does. It builds bridges, it creates bonds, it reminds you that you're not alone. I want you to picture how this could look in your life. Maybe you're dropping off a jar of homemade jam for a neighbor, or calling a friend to share a funny memory. You're not just giving a gift, you're giving a piece of yourself, and that act of giving brings you closer to others. It's a beautiful way to nurture the connections you're starting to build, and it's a reminder that you have so much to offer, even if you don't always feel that way. Let's keep going, because the next habit is going to help you bring even more joy into your daily life. in a way that's just for you. You've come so far on this journey, and I hope you're starting to feel a little lighter, a little more connected. You've been practicing gratitude, reaching out, joining groups, and nurturing relationships with kindness. Those steps are building a foundation for a more connected life, and I'm so proud of you for sticking with it. Now, let's talk about the fifth habit, one that's all about rediscovering the joy that comes from within. This habit is called reviving a personal passion, and it's about bringing back something you love, or discovering something new, that makes your heart sing. Let's dive into what this means. A personal passion is something you do just for you, something that lights you up and makes you lose track of time. Maybe it's painting, or writing letters, or listening to old records and dancing around your living room. It could even be something you've always wanted to try, like learning to play a simple tune on a harmonica or growing herbs on your windowsill. The idea is to set aside a little time each day, maybe 15 or 20 minutes, to do something that brings you joy, something that reminds you of who you are at your core. This isn't about being good at it or showing it off to others. It's about giving yourself permission to enjoy something purely for the sake of enjoyment. Why is this so important? Because loneliness often makes us forget what joy feels like. When you're isolated, it's easy to fall into a routine of just getting through the day, watching TV, eating meals, going to bed. But joy isn't something that happens by accident, it's something you create. Researchers at Harvard University found that older adults who regularly engage in activities they love are 35% less likely to feel lonely, because those activities give them a sense of purpose and fulfillment. And when you're fulfilled, you're more likely to seek out connection, to share your joy with others, to feel like you have something worth sharing. Let me tell you about Margaret, the 78-year-old from Ohio I mentioned earlier. After her close call with a fall, Margaret had stopped doing the things she loved, like her morning walks and dancing with her grandkids. She felt like her life was shrinking, and loneliness took over. When I suggested reviving a personal passion, Margaret thought about how much she used to love dancing at family events. She decided to start small. Every evening, she'd play one of her favorite songs from the 1960s and dance around her living room for a few minutes. At first, she felt a little silly, but soon she found herself smiling, remembering the way she used to twirl with her husband at weddings. That small act of dancing brought back a piece of her spirit, and it gave her the confidence to invite her granddaughter over to dance with her. Margaret told me, "Sarah, I didn't realize how much I missed that feeling. It's like I'm me again." So how do you start? Think about something you used to love, or something you've always wanted to try. Maybe you loved drawing as a kid, why not pick up a pencil and sketch a flower? Maybe you've always wanted to try baking bread, start with a simple recipe and enjoy the smell of it rising in the oven. If you're not sure what to choose, think about what makes you feel alive. Do you love the sound of music? The feel of soil in your hands? The satisfaction of creating something? Once you've got an idea, set aside a little time each day to do it. You don't need to be an expert, and you don't need fancy supplies. If you want to paint but don't have materials, a cheap set of watercolors from the dollar store will do just fine. The point is to do it for you, to give yourself a moment of joy each day. I want to share one more story to inspire you. Frank, the 76-year-old from Arizona who started reconnecting through his walking group, decided to revive a passion he'd long forgotten: photography. He used to love taking pictures on his hikes, but he hadn't touched a camera in years. Frank borrowed his grandson's old digital camera and started taking photos on his walks, simple things like flowers, birds, or the sunrise. He told me, "Sarah, it's like I'm seeing the world again. I didn't realize how much I missed capturing those little moments." Frank even started sharing his photos with his walking group, which led to deeper conversations and stronger friendships. That passion didn't just bring him joy, it brought him closer to others. I want you to picture yourself doing this. Maybe you're sitting at your kitchen table, a paintbrush in your hand, losing yourself in the colors. Or maybe you're in your backyard, tending to a small pot of basil, feeling the sun on your face. You're not just passing the time, you're creating joy, rediscovering the parts of you that light up. And that joy makes you more open to connection, more willing to share yourself with the world. Let's keep going, because the final habit is going to tie all of this together, helping you create a life filled with meaning and connection. You've made it to the final part of this journey, and I hope you're feeling a sense of possibility, a sense that joy and connection are within your reach. You've been practicing gratitude, reaching out, joining groups, nurturing relationships with kindness, and reviving your personal passions. Each of these habits has been building toward a life where you feel seen, valued, and alive. Now, let's talk about the sixth and final habit, one that's going to bring it all together. This habit is called creating a weekly connection ritual, and it's about making connection a regular, meaningful part of your life. Let's talk about what a weekly connection ritual is. It's a small, intentional routine you set up once a week to connect with someone, or a group of people, in a way that feels special. Maybe it's inviting a neighbor over for tea every Sunday afternoon, or calling your daughter every Saturday morning to catch up. It could be hosting a small card game with friends every Friday evening, or even volunteering at your local community center once a week to help with an event. The idea is to create a rhythm, a moment you can look forward to each week, that keeps you connected to others in a consistent way. This isn't about filling your calendar with obligations, it's about choosing one meaningful interaction that becomes an anchor in your week. Why does this work so well? Because consistency is key when it comes to fighting loneliness. A study from the Journal of Gerontology found that older adults who have regular social interactions, even just once a week, are 45% less likely to feel isolated, because those interactions give them something to anticipate, something to count on. And when you create a ritual, it's not just about the time you spend together, it's about the feeling of being part of something steady, something reliable. It's a reminder that you're not alone, that there are people who look forward to seeing you, just as much as you look forward to seeing them. Let me tell you about Dorothy, the 79-year-old from Colorado I mentioned earlier, the pie lady who felt like she was disappearing after her husband passed away. After trying the habits we've talked about, Dorothy decided to create a weekly connection ritual. She loved baking, so she started a Sunday tradition. Every week, she'd bake a pie and invite a few neighbors over to share it. At first, it was just 1 or 2 people, but soon it grew into a small gathering of 5 or 6. They'd sit around her kitchen table, laughing over slices of apple pie, sharing stories about their week. Dorothy told me, "Sarah, Sundays used to be my loneliest day. Now they're my favorite. I feel like I have a little family again." That ritual didn't just fill her Sundays, it filled her heart. Here's how you can create your own ritual. Think about the people you've been connecting with through the habits we've explored, maybe the friend you sent a memory message to, or someone from your shared interest group. What's one thing you could do together each week that feels special? If you love cooking, maybe you invite them over for a simple meal. If you enjoy walking, maybe you plan a weekly stroll in the park. If you're not ready for in-person meetups, a weekly phone call can be just as meaningful. The key is to make it regular, pick a day and time, and stick to it as best you can. And don't worry if it's small. Even a 15-minute chat over tea can be enough to make you feel connected. I want to share one final story to show you the impact this can have. Helen, the 69-year-old from Minnesota who loved gardening, decided to create a weekly connection ritual after getting back into her garden. She invited a friend from her gardening club to come over every Wednesday morning to tend to their plants together. They'd spend an hour weeding, planting, and chatting, then sit on Helen's porch with a glass of lemonade. Helen told me, "Sarah, I didn't realize how much I needed that time. It's not just about the garden, it's about knowing someone's there, week after week." That ritual gave Helen a sense of stability, a sense of belonging, that helped her feel truly alive again. Let's bring it all together now. You've learned 6 powerful habits to break free from loneliness and rediscover the joy of living. First, the morning gratitude moment, to lift your spirits and shift your mindset. Second, the memory message, to reconnect with someone from your past. Third, joining a shared interest group, to build new connections around something you love. Fourth, small acts of kindness, to nurture your relationships with intention. Fifth, reviving a personal passion, to bring joy back into your daily life. And sixth, creating a weekly connection ritual, to make connection a steady, meaningful part of your week. Each of these habits is simple, but together, they're transformative. They're the key to a life where you feel connected, valued, and full of joy. I want you to take a moment to imagine your life a few months from now. You're starting your day with gratitude, feeling a little more hopeful each morning. You're getting texts from old friends, maybe even meeting up with them for coffee. You're part of a group that shares your interests, laughing over a shared hobby. You're doing small acts of kindness, seeing the smiles they bring to others, and to you. You're spending time on a passion that lights you up, feeling more like yourself than you have in years. And every week, you've got a ritual to look forward to, a moment of connection that reminds you you're not alone. That's the life you're building, and it's a life worth living. So here's my challenge to you: start tomorrow. Pick one habit, maybe the morning gratitude moment, or a memory message, and give it a try. See how it feels, and then add another habit the next day, or the next week. You don't have to do it all at once, just take it one step at a time. And when you do, I want you to notice the difference. Notice how your heart feels a little lighter, how your days feel a little brighter. You deserve that. You deserve to feel joy, to feel connected, to feel like you matter, because you do. This isn't just about you, it's about the people who love you, the ones who want to see you smiling, laughing, living your best life. So do it for them, but most of all, do it for you. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found this helpful, please share it with someone you care about, maybe a friend or family member who could use a little joy in their life too. And let me know in the comments which habit you're going to try first. I'd love to hear from you. You're not alone in this, and I'm rooting for you every step of the way. Here's to a life filled with connection, joy, and meaning, because you deserve nothing less.